Hi, this is Josh with Resort TV 1, and today we're testing out a new feature on the channel to see if everyone likes it. It's called Thursday Thoughts. And on Thursday Thoughts, basically what I'll do is I'll give you my thoughts, my opinions on certain Disney news that's going on at the time. We do this on live streams a lot, but I feel like in just a regular vlog video like this, really in the house, just on the webcam, kind of without any distractions, we can have a little bit more thoughtful conversation about it. And everybody gets to hear it. Sometimes some of the opinions and thoughts that we give on the live streams, we really enjoy doing that. But sometimes people might not always see it because they didn't see that part of the stream, or because it's on, hour 3.5 of a 6-hour stream. We do tend to do long streams sometimes. So, but this way I'm kind of going to make it a little bit more like a live stream in that I'm not going to do multiple takes and not going to do a ton of editing. Just going to really give you my opinions on, again, some Disney news of the day. So, make sure you leave a comment and let me know what you think about this new format, but also let me know what you think about the Disney news that I discuss. And whether we agree or disagree, I'd love to know your opinions and your thoughts in the comments down below. So please, again, be sure to leave a comment or multiple comments about each topic that I discuss. I've got some notes of things I want to discuss, and we'll get into as many as we can, but I'd like to have a conversation this way, and it'll be a little bit different than the live stream. The live stream is a little bit more real time, where I get to respond to your comments right at that moment. However, a lot of times we miss a lot of comments because the chat goes so fast. So in this way, I can see more of the comments and I'll be able to read them and take a little bit more time to really try and thoughtfully respond so we can have a real conversation. So I'm going to do my best to respond to as many comments on this video as I can. Also, before we get started, please be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified every time we go live or have a new video. And of course, follow us on social media. We're Resort TV 1 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also leave this video a like. That way YouTube recommends it to more people and we can get more people involved in the conversation. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is the live entertainment cuts that Disney has announced and actually has implemented already. The biggest two that I want to talk about here are the Muppets that have left Liberty Square in the Magic Kingdom, as well as the Barutica Band that has left Africa in Disney's Animal Kingdom. So let's start out by talking about the Muppets leaving Liberty Square. First of all, the Muppet Show there in Liberty Square was absolutely amazing. It was really, really funny. It was well done. It was educational, and it was just a great use of the Muppets in that area. The puppets that they used for the characters were just exquisitely designed and detailed. They were very lifelike, and the actual puppeteers did an amazing job bringing them to life. It was just a great show. And the humor in the show was spot on. It was kind of dry, but it was very Muppet-like, I think. So I don't know if that's an adjective, but I just made it one. So I loved the Muppet Show. My favorite part was when Fozzie Bear would, he was pretending he was Paul Revere, and he would call out, 1 if by land, 2 if by sea, and 3 if by monorail, 4 if by people mover, and 5 if by, tram or whatever. He went like through several Disney forms of transportation, and it was just a lot of fun because it takes, history and kind of contextualizes it in the present day with Disney. So it was really neat, kind of these modern day funny Muppet takes on American history. It made it interesting for people to stand and watch, but also it made it, maybe it made history come to life in a way that made it more engaging for people, and still using, Disney characters in a way that maybe they hadn't been used before. So, again, I love the Muppet Show. However, they did cut that. I am disappointed about that, I will have to say. I haven't heard any announcements of anything replacing the Muppets in that spot. So I'm disappointed that there isn't anything to replace it, and I'm hoping maybe something will be announced soon. But I really don't like it, I think, when Disney cuts things and then doesn't immediately announce replacements, or just doesn't have a replacement in mind. I understand budget cuts and things like that, and of course needing to run a business, and I know Disney does have those things to consider, but the Muppet Show was really a hidden gem in Liberty Square, and it was just a great show. My son Liam really loved it, and I'm sad that I don't get to take him to watch it anymore because it just finished a few days ago for the last time. So anyway, leave your comments down below about the Muppet Show. What do you think about it leaving? I think most people, that follow us and that I read, online on different forums, Twitter and Facebook and whatnot, people really, in general, are pretty sad about this move. I do hope that, again, Disney has another way to use the Muppets throughout Walt Disney World. Somewhere in that area, or maybe we'll get really, really lucky and they will hear people talking about how much they love the Muppets and maybe come back with new shows in Liberty Square that can cover different parts of American history. There are lots of things to cover besides what they did already. So here's hoping, Disney, if you're watching, we love the Muppets. Please bring them back in some way, shape, or form, and let me know again what you think about that as well. And let's talk about Barutica leaving Africa in Harambee in Disney's Animal Kingdom. Barutica is actually a real band. I read this online. I can't remember the name of the group. I was just reading on a couple different websites before I did this video, and again, off the top of my head, I can't remember. It's actually a real African pop band, and they're, of course, very talented, but they add a really amazing atmosphere to Harambe as you walk in, and just that music really takes you away to another place, and all of a sudden you feel like you're in this, fictitious Harambe, which is supposed to be an East African coastal village. And of course, the landscaping and the, buildings and all the different architecture around Harambe add to that feeling, but I think that having that music really sells it. And of course, they've got background music playing through speakers and things like that, but let's face it, the background music is not something that is as engaging as a live performance. So I really will miss the Barutica band. They were great at getting the crowd involved. They didn't always want people to just stand around and kind of watch statically. So I think that it's really amazing that they were there and were able to entertain guests, I believe, for about 10 years. But unfortunately, they have been cut as well. And so hopefully they bring something in there in its place. It kind of reminds me of when Off Kilter was cut from Epcot. They had different various acts in that particular stage there in Canada, but I don't think that they have ever come quite up to the level of where Off Kilter was. They're the group that's there now is engaging, but I can't think of the name of them. So it kind of, shows you that maybe they're not quite as memorable as what Off Kilter was. Same thing with Barutica. They may bring in another group, but probably not quite as memorable as that group. They were just such great performers, and it was just so cool to see that African culture brought to life through the popular music that they played in that style. So I'm disappointed about both of those cuts. I hope something is put in their place, but I really wish they hadn't been cut at all, just to be honest. I don't like it when things are cut and nothing's brought in their place. I've said that before. And just leave me your comments and let me know what you think about that. So, and also I wanted to mention, there have been a lot of price increases, of course. And so I feel like maybe at this point we're getting less for more money. We're actually paying more, getting less, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think that's been a complaint from a lot of people. So just being honest, kind of keeping it real a little bit. I hope that, Disney continues to bring us value for the money when they do increase prices. I understand why it has to happen, but I do hope that the value is still there. And I understand building things like Star Wars Land, Galaxy's Edge are expensive, and all the new rides and things that are planned for Epcot, of course they've got to pay for that. But the live entertainment is really what sets Disney apart, or what used to set Disney apart from a lot of other places. So I feel like when you cut that, you're kind of destroying some aspects of the park that have really made Disney unique and special. So I hope Disney management sees people talking about this and tries to bring back more of the live performers. I've seen them kind of come and go in kind of an ebb and flow fashion, so hopefully they'll come back. Another thing I wanted to mention too was, the jazz band is one of my favorite things at Disneyland in California, and Disney World's only kind of equivalent to that is the Grand Floridian Society Orchestra. I haven't heard anything about them going anywhere. I think they're pretty safe at the Grand Floridian, but it would be cool if there was a band like that in the park, like a jazz band that played in the evenings at Magic Kingdom and Epcot, anywhere. That would be really neat. So I think we need to be looking at more live entertainment as opposed to less, because I really do think that that is something that Disney would, really benefit from, and guests, I think, would enjoy. So anyway, let's move on to the next topic. I don't want to ramble too much about that. Just, again, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. One other thing I wanted to talk about, and this is a little bit different than the straight up live entertainment, even though it is technically live entertainment, is the Main Street Electrical Parade. It did come back to Disneyland for a short time, and it's already gone, unfortunately. I was really happy to see that it was back. Unfortunately, I wasn't out there when it was there, so I wasn't able to go back and see it. But, I'm wondering why they had it back for such a short time. From what I've heard, talk to Britt, our friend, Aviation Photography, that helps us out so much. What I've heard from that is that they've had an increase in attendance at Disneyland since that's happened. So I really am hoping that Disney saw that and was able to, maybe gauge that it would be good to bring back those types of entertainment. And by the way, I don't know if you heard that sound effect in the background. I'm recording this on Streamlabs. We'll see if I can mute those types of alerts later. If you didn't hear anything, no worries, but I'm just kind of going through this and learning it as we go. I think you probably did hear it, but let me mute that so we don't have any more going forward. So anyway, this is going to be kind of raw and uncut. And let me know what you think about that format. I can do more editing next time if I have a little bit more time. So Main Street Electrical Parade, I'm kind of sad that they cut that particular show again, kind of brought it back, cut it, and then didn't replace it. I feel like Disney as a whole in both California and Florida is lacking in nighttime parades. It used to be Main Street Electrical Parade, Spectro Magic, both at Disney World at different times. Paint the Night in California, Main Street Electrical Parade, and just lots of different shows that have been featured at night in the parks. I think it's really important for Disney to have those features. It kind of tides people over till the parade, or the parade tides people over till the fireworks. So I do hope they bring back something like that. I think the nighttime parades are so magical. I love Festival of Fantasy. I think it's amazing. It's one of my favorite parades as well. But I think those nighttime parades, my favorite parade of all time is Spectro Magic. It was so magical. I've got so many great memories of it, and just the soundtrack is so emotional. So, and the lights and the nighttime feel of it, I think, made it extra special. So, Disney, if you're listening, bring back a nighttime parade. If you bring back Spectro Magic, I would be over the moon. But I think that might be kind of a slim chance since the floats are gone. So, anyway, that's all I had to say about Main Street Electrical Parade and the nighttime parades there. Let's talk for a minute about the Skyliner. The Skyliner, of course, has had some major issues in the past week or so with the major breakdown that caused a 3-hour delay getting people off of the ride itself, and or what you want to call it, a ride transportation system. And actually, the cause of that was a couple gondolas did crash together, and luckily nobody was hurt. But that was a major issue. I'm really hoping they had it shut down for a week. I'm hoping they got it fixed. I want to say, first of all, I love the Skyliner. I think it's one of the best things Disney's done in a long time. Obviously, this issue was unacceptable. Disney has said that. They know that. I'm sure they worked really, really hard to fix it. But overall, I love the Skyliner. I think it's an amazing transportation system. They use systems like this all over the world, and they're run with very little downtime. I was talking to some people on one of our comment sections from Canada, and said they run some of these kind of systems in the Canadian Rockies in much colder and much more extreme weather without any issues. So I know Disney can do it. And I think that it'll be amazing. When I did ride the Skyliner on opening day, I was just struck by how beautiful and peaceful it was. I wasn't scared of anything. They didn't rock too much. It didn't bother me at all. I'm not a huge fan of heights, but I'm not afraid of heights. So I know my mom is afraid of heights, and she actually said it didn't really bother her, as long as it kept moving. So, and it was so fast, even when there was a line there at the Caribbean Beach station to go to Epcot. The line really moved pretty quickly. It looked like it was going to take forever, but we were through the line in about 10 to 15 minutes. So I think overall it's a great system. One thing I really would like to see Disney do, though, of course, there are going to be stoppages and breakdowns. Hopefully nothing as long as 3 hours. That was very extreme, and I would be pretty worried if they had it break down in 95-degree weather in the middle of the afternoon at 3 hours long to get people out. There might be some major heat exhaustion issues, and that could be very, very dangerous. So I know that's a very serious issue. I hope and I pray that Disney's taking that very seriously. I'm sure they are. They know what they're doing, and I do trust them. But the biggest thing is the evacuation needs to be much, much faster next time, and I think they know that. But there can't just be these 3-hour delays. They've got to find a way to make it much faster. And I know it's different than the monorail. The monorail, you've got one train, all the cars are connected. You can kind of there's a platform they evacuate people on the monorail from. They don't do it very often, but basically they can evacuate one door at a time. And so they're able to do that pretty quick because they just do the one door and then they move the vehicle back a little bit and keep going. So it's not quite the same as the Skyliner where they have to move several feet between each vehicle to get everybody out. So I do know that takes longer, but they've got to find a way to do it quicker so that there aren't these long delays in the evacuation process. They've also got to find a way to communicate with guests a little bit better the next time that happens. I had a friend that was on it, and she said the biggest thing was just not being able to hear anything over the PA. And from what I've read and heard, so many people were pushing the call button on the PA. Somehow that locked out Disney from making announcements over the system. I have every confidence in Disney. Again, they do know what they're doing. I'm sure they've fixed that issue to where maybe there's a button they can use to lock out the call button and just say, okay, we see everybody pushing the call button. We understand that there's an issue. There will be someone around momentarily to assist you. And then, the other thing I think they were telling people is if, you're having a serious medical emergency, you needed to call 911. And of course, they would get to those people first. So I think the biggest takeaways from that are, yes, there's some risks involved to riding any form of transportation, really. Let's face it, airliners are really, really safe, but there's a real inherent risk with riding on an airplane. There's always could be operator error. There are plane crashes, unfortunately. every once in a while. So, and very tragic when it happens. But, that doesn't stop me and a lot of other people from getting on a plane because we understand the risks involved. And some people refuse to fly for that reason, and that's their choice, and I respect that. Some people refuse to get on the Skyliner for the same reason, because just they are scared of being stuck like that, or they're afraid of heights, and that's totally fine. That's respectable. They can use the other forms of transportation, the buses and watercraft and things like that, the monorails, of course. So I do hope that the Skyliner doesn't just try and replace the buses and things, because obviously there are some people that aren't going to want to ride it, but it will take the load, I think, off the busing system. So the monorail has had its fair share of issues. I mentioned this in a few comments, but I did get stuck on the monorail for 2 hours once, and unfortunately I did have to use the restroom, so that was a pretty uncomfortable situation. So I understand some of the people that were stuck for 3 hours on the Skyliner being in a very uncomfortable situation. And the monorail's air conditioning also shut down, and even though it was nighttime, it was a summer night, so it was very sticky and humid, and it did get very uncomfortable. We were lucky they eventually moved us to a platform where we couldn't get out. It wasn't an unloading platform, but they were able to open the doors since there was something there where they didn't have to worry about a safety issue with opening the doors. And we did get a little bit of fresh air in, but the issue was the monorail in front of us had broken down at the TTC, and we were stuck, I believe, at the Grand Floridian with a couple monorails in front of us not able to move. And so they tried to stop the monorails at the stations, but they didn't want to unload us on the wrong side of the loading platform. So anyway, the monorail definitely has its issues too, and I think people are still very much in support of it. Monorail is obviously one of my favorite forms of transportation as well. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the Skyliner. I think it's gonna eventually be successful. I think it's gonna really pay off for Disney. I hope and pray there are no more issues like the one that we saw, or if there are, that the evacuation happens much more quickly, and that no guests have any heat exhaustion or any other issues of health related problems there. So leave a comment and let me know what you think about that particular topic. I know there are a lot of opinions on that, and certainly I respect your opinion if you feel like Disney made a big mistake making the Skyliner and making it such a huge part of Disney transportation. I respect that. It's just my personal opinion is that it's a really great system, and that yes, they had some problems with it, and it was a major issue. It was unacceptable. I will 100% agree with that. They've got to get it fixed, but I think that they will, and I think that it's going to turn out to be a huge success. I can't wait to see if they expand it to places like Disney Springs. They want to get people over there to shop, or maybe some of the other resorts in the area as well. So again, leave a comment, let me know what you think. The other thing, by the way, about the Skyliner I had on the notes here before we move on is that it's like TTA in the sky to me. And obviously I know the TTA is a whole different system. It's a lot easier to evacuate because you're on a platform the whole time. But obviously if they could build TTAs around Walt Disney World, that would be preferable to, I think, almost anybody. But that is a lot more cost prohibitive to build all that track than just to build the cables in the sky there between the different sheaves that connect them together. So anyway, it is like TTA in the sky to me, and I really do enjoy it. So I can't wait to ride it again, actually. Biggest thing is obviously make sure you have water and make sure you've used the restroom before you go. But I do that every time I get on the monorail now, just based on the issue I had when I was stopped for 2 hours on there. I think it's just a good rule of thumb before you get on a transportation system where you may or may not be able to leave if there is a breakdown. So always a good thing to do. The next thing I want to talk about is Epcot Forever, the new fireworks show at Epcot. And Epcot Forever is really an amazing show, I think. And of course, the opening night of Epcot Forever, I actually, got really excited and said that it was better than Illuminations: Reflections of Earth. I don't agree with that statement anymore. I think I was kind of swept away by the excitement of it. But when I went back and listened to the Illuminations soundtrack, me, of course, as a musician, as a music major, I could see just the dramatic intensity of the score of Illuminations. And I don't think Epcot Forever does rise to that level anymore, especially just with the fact that Illuminations was, kind of conceived behind these ideas of the different movements of the show. It's very unified and harmonious, and it flows really, really, really nicely. My biggest issue with Illuminations was not the music. The music was impeccable. There isn't any way that you could improve on that Illuminations music. It's a masterpiece, and it always will be. I think pretty much everybody agrees with that. My biggest issue with Illuminations was the pyrotechnics were starting to lag after, a few years. I saw it opening year in 1999, and I was blown away by it. And since then, things have been kind of made smaller. They've kind of been, I don't know if it's been cheaper, but they've just been really changed to, just as Illuminations evolves, as the technology available evolves, the pyrotechnics, I feel like the shells have gotten smaller. I feel like some of the different effects that are used are just not quite as intense as they used to be. Chaos, the first movement, I felt like was definitely less intense than it was the first few years. Obviously, they've added some effects too with some of the lasers and spotlights and things like that. And obviously, the globe was amazing, but it also had its fair share of technical issues where it wouldn't even start some nights. So, I do think Illuminations had its fair share of issues. The music was of course the best part of it, and the unified nature of the show. So I 100% miss Illuminations. I think it's an amazing show, and it always will be a happy memory for me at Walt Disney World and Epcot, especially since it was with us for 20 years. That's a pretty incredible run for any fireworks show. So I think it may be the longest running fireworks show at any Disney park. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I didn't have time to research that. But if it's not the longest, it's one of the longest running fireworks shows. Fantasy in the Sky ran for a long time at the Magic Kingdom as well. But anyway, let's talk about Epcot Forever, like I said. So to me, Epcot Forever is really, really great just because even though it's not epic in the same way that Illuminations was, it's a great, like the Imagineer said in one of the videos on Disney Parks, a YouTube channel, it's a great kind of love letter to Epcot. And I think a lot of people that were around for the opening years of Epcot, I think I first visited when I was 5 years old in 1984. So, I've known Epcot for a long time. My favorite ride of all time, Horizons. I miss the Walter Cronkite and Jeremy Irons versions of Spaceship Earth, even though I still love it the way it is now. World of Motion, the original Imagination, Magic Journeys, all the different things that made Epcot amazing. The original Living Seas. I could go on and on and on. There's just so many incredible attractions that made up Epcot the way it was. Wonders of Life, Universe of Energy. I'm sure I'm missing something, just kind of speaking stream of consciousness right now. But the way that they incorporated a lot of those themes into Epcot Forever, even though it definitely became sort of this pretty quick medley of different things, it still was amazing hearing the orchestra and the voices reimagine and basically rearrange some of those themes. They didn't just take the CDs from the parks music and kind of chop it all together in a sound engineering lab and put it out there and say, this is your soundtrack, and it's just basically a needle drop version of all the pre-recorded songs. That wasn't what they did. And if they had done that, I would have been disappointed because that wouldn't have been nearly as cool. When they took the orchestra, they re-recorded it. You can see it on the Disney Parks YouTube video. I think it really gave it life, and I think it really made it just that much more emotional to see. The pyrotechnics on Epcot Forever are definitely much better than what Illuminations had, in so much as they're bigger. They are, the timing is amazing with the music, and just the technology is improved, of course, because they redesigned the barges, and they've got all new launchers and things like that. So, they're going to be a step up from what Illuminations was. Again, not knocking Illuminations for 1999 technology, it was absolutely incredible. 20 years later, there's a lot more things available. So while I think Epcot Forever isn't quite as emotional as Illuminations, it's emotional for people like me that went to the original, Epcot Center and remember some of those rides, some of those soundtracks that really just kept us coming back as kids and made me, as a 5 or 6 year old, want to go ride a ride with classically inspired music in it that was just epic. And, almost, and really the music in Epcot inspired me to be a music teacher. And that's the truth. I wasn't exposed to that type of music any other place. So, sorry, I'm getting notifications to update my mouse software here. I've got to figure out a way to get rid of that. But anyway, so the biggest thing is, I think Epcot Forever is great for a year, and I will miss it when it's gone, just because you won't get to hear those themes, from Horizons, from, Imagination, from Universe of Energy, the Veggie Fruit theme was in there, America Golden Dream, all those really amazing themes were in it, and of course I will miss that when it's gone. A lot of people have talked about the ending being kind of strange with A Whole New World. I understand what they were going for. Now, I watched it on our friend Corey Meets World stream, and, watching it and not filming it myself, I kind of understood what Disney was going for. I think what they were going for, actually, was, they're talking about kind of through the show, they're kind of foreshadowing how Epcot is going to change and grow. And so I think what they were pushing towards is that Epcot would grow into this, this amazing park by 2021 or 2022. They're changing so many things. So the idea is Epcot is going to be a whole new world. Right now it's Walcott. We call it hashtag Walcott because there's so many walls. But obviously that just means there's a lot of things happening. And hopefully it's all amazing once it's finished. But I think the idea behind Epcot Forever, because it's a one-year show and it's leading into Harmonious, which is going to be the permanent show for a while at Epcot, debuting hopefully sometime next year, as long as all goes well with that. I think the idea is that it's going to be a whole new world coming up into Epcot in the future. Having said that, I think if I had, had any input in writing the show, and I have written, different shows, and I've arranged things, obviously, as a musician, I think a more dramatic ending would have been We Go On from Illuminations. I think it would have been a great, even if it was just a short segment, maybe 30 seconds to a minute, just to cap off the show. It wouldn't have even had to be in the whole song. They could have arranged it, kind of put the highlights, put the big climax in it, and it would have ended the show with a great homage to an amazing show that had a 20-year run. Yeah, they put the Tapestry of Nations theme in there, which is incredible, and we'll always remember and love that. But putting We Go On in there would have been amazing, and would have just been, kind of showing respect to something that a lot of people, really have a lot of love and affection for. So that's my opinion. The rest of the show, I think, is really, really great and a lot of fun. So leave me your comments about Epcot Forever and let me know, kind of what your thoughts are on that and where you think that Disney went right with it, where you think they went wrong. Some people have said it's a terrible show and they really, really hate it. Some people on Twitter have criticized it to the point where they said it's the worst thing Disney's ever done. I completely disagree with that. I think that's an overreaction to, the love for Illuminations. And again, I respect that. Illuminations was an amazing show, not taking anything away from that. But I think that Epcot Forever is a great show as well. It would have been hard for any show to come out and replace Reflections of Earth with everybody's great memories of it. So I think putting We Go On at the end would have probably satisfied more people. But, I think Disney was trying not to rehash too much of a show that they just retired. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. I did put down here on my notes that the kites were amazing. So yeah, that's something I think that kind of harkens back to Surprise in the Skies that used to be at Epcot back in the 80s and early 90s. I think it was early 90s. Surprise in the Skies, they had these kites and even little ultralight flyers, I think, that had characters on them and all kinds of crazy stuff that they would do flying around Epcot in the afternoon. So it kind of harkens back to that with the jet skis carrying the kites around. So I do like that part of the show. I think that's really innovative and pretty cool. There was talk of using drones either in this show or in Harmonious, so we'll see if that happens. There are some logistical issues with that as far as complying with FAA regulations on drones. But anyway, I don't want to go on too long. We're almost to a half an hour right now. So for those of you still watching, thank you for watching me ramble on and on about some of these Disney topics. This has been really fun to make this video, and I hope that you have enjoyed, just hearing some of my thoughts on what Disney's been up to lately. I'm always going to love Disney. I'm always going to cheer them on. I'm always going to, look for the positive side of things. And that's not because Disney has asked me to. We're not Disney media right now. We may try and get that in the future, try and ask for that in the future. But, I've been a firm and strong Disney supporter for a long time. So I'm not afraid to say when I don't like something, but, I am kind of a glass half full person. So I'm trying to look for the positive side in things. And, I think all these different topics have some interesting arguments and interesting opinions on both sides. So again, leave me a comment or leave me several comments. Let me know what you think. I just ask that you keep it respectful. We're all human beings. We all have valid opinions, and, keep it respectful, and let's have a discussion and see where we can go from here. And let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this. Let me know if I talked way too long, because I probably did. So anyway, I do want to also remind you again to leave a like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't already done so. Also, I want to remind you to check out our great sponsors who help keep our channel running, and that is MickeyBlog.com and MickeyTravels.com for the best and free Disney vacation planning advice. Go check out MickeyTravels.com to book your next trip to Disney. Also, be sure, if you're thinking about moving to Central Florida, check out Victor Naraki at celebratingflorida.com or facebook.com/Naraki Realtor. Tell him that Resort TV One sent you, and he'll help you find your dream home if you're thinking about moving closer to Walt Disney World. So that's all we have for now. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. So for now, have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye-bye. Now that you've finished watching this video, be sure that you're subscribed so that you can get all of the latest updates. Also, check out some other great videos on our channel. Have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye-bye.